Watch this video if you're scared about what tariffs mean for your small handmade business. Hi, my name is Justine Venucci Frederick, and I am the owner of Venucci Limited Jewelry, which is a demi-fine or bridge-style jewelry company. So I'm not costume jewelry and I'm not fine jewelry. I'm somewhere in between. I work in sterling silver, 14 karat gold fill, and semi-precious gemstones. My business is 12 years old, and the first 7 to 8 years of that, I was pretty much exclusively wholesale. But when the pandemic hit, I realized that I really needed a change in my business, so I moved out west and I bought a van, and now I travel around and do a lot of in-person retail and focus on getting people on my website. So that's a little bit about me and my business. My channel is really about moving through my business as you move through yours, and hopefully I can provide some content that might help you move faster to the goals that you want to get to. What is a tariff? So a tariff is basically an extra charge that is paid by the person that is buying the goods. So if I am buying goods from India, I'm buying my gemstones, and I want a $100 strand of gemstones. As of the making of this video, there's a 10% tariff on goods from India. So that means my $100 strand is now going to cost me $110. It doesn't cost the seller anything, except for it will cost that person business, because once those tariffs keep jumping up, the person that's buying the gemstones from them, may no longer be able to afford them. Right now, the biggest thing that everyone is really worried about are the tariffs from China, which again, at time of recording, was 145%. So that $100 strand of gemstones would now cost me almost $250 if it was coming from China. I mean, that's a pretty steep increase. So how do we deal with that? How do we combat that in our small business? You know, some businesses are definitely going to be more protected than others, but there's always things that we can do. The first thing that I want to talk about is what I feel like is the most obvious one. It's cutting costs somewhere. So there are so many places in our business where we can be inefficient and maybe are just doing things because it's the way we've always done them. For example, I spend several $100s a year on really nice business cards. And it felt important because I do all these in-person shows and everyone asks for business card. You know, I think people throw them in their purse, they lose them. Even though my jewelry's on the front, they might forget what like the whole business was, what they liked at my booth, you know, and then they just get tossed. And I honestly do the same thing. Like when I'm at shows sometimes and I see an artist I want to keep in contact with, I take their business card, and then I'm back here in my studio and I'm like, what did this card come from? Why do I have this? Who was this? We all always have our phones on us. So I've started doing a little section in my booth where you can either scan a QR code that will take you to my Instagram to follow, or you can just take a picture of the information that would be on the business card, my email address, my phone number, my website, and now you're never gonna lose it because it's always in your phone. I know it's just a few $100s a year, but that's a few $100s a year. So people understand, even if it's not the way they normally operate, what else am I doing to cut costs? So besides the business cards, I also will often do a big meal when I am at a show because there's friends around, or you know, the days are long and you kind of want something special as like a little pick-me-up at the end of the day. And I've really cut back on the special meals during shows. Again, this is something that's only really saving me a few $100s a year, but if I can find enough of these small things, we can easily bump that up to saving a few $1,000s a year. So once you kind of sniff around your business and find a few of these small things that can cut you a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, probably the most important thing is to make sure your product is priced correctly. Especially if you're jewelry right now with the rising costs of metals, you might not be priced correctly, even if you were priced correctly 3 months ago. I think when things are so volatile like this, it's important to give yourself a slightly higher profit margin than normal, because it's more annoying for your customer to see the prices keep jumping and changing. I mean, that's really the issue with the tariffs too. It's not that like, okay, at this date, this tariff is going to affect and that's the way it'll be forever and ever. It's kind of like this confusing, adding a tariff, taking it away, now reciprocal tariffs, and it's the the uncertainty of it all that's really the confusing part, not necessarily even the tariffs themselves. Keeping your customers' confidence in you and your business and your product, it's better to price up a little bit because we're probably going to reach that in 6 months anyway. Then you don't have your customer questioning your pricing because it's constantly changing. Also, who has time for that? Who has time to be pricing their product every month, changing the pricing? I know I certainly don't. This next piece of advice is going to seem counterintuitive. I have started making higher priced items to combat some of this volatility. The type of person that is going to be the least affected by the volatility is going to be able to afford higher priced items. When it comes to your lower cost pieces, don't drop your prices. Make some pieces that are lower cost but still have your highest profit margin. Does that make sense? So that you're still making a higher percentage off of each of those low cost pieces. And this is because you do still want to make sure that you hold on to those customers that are being affected by the volatility. So that brings me to the next whole topic that I think is so important when we are encountering all of this volatility and uncertainty is diversify. Diversify, diversify, diversify. Get creative. You are an entrepreneur. That doesn't mean that you figure it out and then you got it from there forever and ever. Being an entrepreneur is constantly being creative, constantly seeing what's going on in the world and in your business and in your community and adjusting your business to fit that. That doesn't mean make things you don't love, but it does mean that you may want to branch out in sharing the things that you love. You could teach. And this could be in person in your community. You could make an online class, which might even be better because you make this class one time and it's going to continually bring in revenue. You don't have to worry about tariffs. It's not a product. And during this time when things are volatile, you often get people starting businesses because they're not sure what they want to do. It's time for a change in their life. Maybe they got fired from a job they've held their whole life and doors are opening for them and they don't know which direction to go. This is the time when people are looking for information. Do an ebook, which similarly with a class, but it doesn't have to be quite so structured. It's a little bit more your thoughts, your information. Think about these kind of social media channels. This is actually one of the pieces of my strategy. I recently started this YouTube channel and I'm also putting some focus into some other social media channels. So this one is a little bit more of a long-term plan, but you got to start at some time for long-term plans. So this has given me the motivation to start now. So start something with me. Another thing that I'm personally doing that this might not work for other small handmade businesses, but it's working for my jewelry business, is I had gotten into some of the permanent jewelry about a year and a half ago. I've had some fun with it. I haven't put a lot of focus on it. And I think that that is a way to create more of an experience for people, especially millennials and younger are always willing to spend money on experiences over items. So if you can create an experience to go along with one of your items, that is absolutely ideal. You could also lean into products you have that don't use as many imported components. Maybe you're a small business that has several different products. You can really just do a marketing push on some of the products that are made in the US instead of and then as you slowly phase out some of the more unaffordable items. I think last, I just want to say lean on your customers. Overall, people of all political persuasions are pretty interested in supporting small businesses. So if you're vocal about your needs, people will listen. If you come across as authentic, non-salesy, if you're present, if you're genuine, if you're showing up, if you're consistent, all of these things create a confidence where even when people are low on money, they want to support you. Email blasts and social media posts, reach out to your customers individually. Connection, I think, is really the future of business. And as things get more fractured, more and more people are starting side hustles and businesses, that is going to be the community that we support. So let me know if any of these ideas you might feel would work for your business. Feel free to throw out any other ideas in the comments. I really feel like we're in this together. So even if this video just lets you know that there's other people out there that are struggling and need to get creative as well, we are all in the same boat. Don't worry. We're going to make this happen. And then I just have like a little PS, like a little last thoughts for this. One of the reasons why it is so cheap in some of these countries to do our business, well, the main reason is the human labor component. These people are working long hours with not a lot of rules that govern their safety. And they're not getting paid very much. When I really think about that, I don't love supporting it. So maybe there's even a piece of me that feels like I'm gonna really try to lean into this. I'm really going to try to take this moment to make my own business as ethical as I possibly can. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about that part too. I feel like not a lot of people are talking about it, and I'd be really curious to hear what you think of the balance between trying to run a business and needing low cost items and the human labor component.